Do you have any current update on Caitlin's back or how she's doing right now?
No current update.
There was a clip of a play where she got pushed in the neck during the game. Have you seen that? Did that have any impact on her health in this one?
I just saw it. I'm not sure if it had any impact on the health or her health or not. But it was egregious. The fact that it was a no call. I heard about it at halftime. I brought it to the attention of the official.
Take a close look at this revealing moment. Stephanie White has just watched the clip showing Alyssa Thomas pushing Caitlin Clark in the throat during the game, and all at once, she suddenly knows Caitlin's name. Just as quickly, she's expressing outrage over the officiating, and now she's publicly standing up for her superstar. But this is exactly what makes the entire situation feel so revealing and impossible to ignore. Where was this same energy throughout the entire season? Where was this level of passion when Caitlin kept getting battered game after game without hearing a single word from her head coach? This press conference took place after the Fever's overtime loss to the Connecticut Sun on May 14, 2024, and what we're witnessing is either genuine frustration or the most conveniently timed deflection in WNBA coaching history.
We still had 11 fouls in the fourth quarter to their 2. They still shot 24 free throws in the second half.
All right, now it sounds like you're trying to blame the free throws for you losing. No, why don't you explain why you pulled Caitlin Clark out at the end of the first when she was cooking? The girl had 13, she had it rolling. Why did you take her out? Why don't you explain why you pulled Caitlin Clark at the end of the second when the girl was cooking? Caitlin Clark had it rolling and you kept pulling her out. But Kelsey Mitchell was able to play 19 out of the 20 minutes in the first half. Why did you keep subbing Caitlin Clark out? Maybe that played a part into what.
Now take a closer look at these numbers. Indiana was called for 11 fouls in the fourth quarter compared to just 2 for Connecticut, while the Sun attempted 24 free throws in the second half alone. Stephanie White is placing the blame squarely on the referees. But here's the part she isn't bringing up at all. Caitlin Clark had already scored 13 points by the end of the first quarter and was completely in rhythm. Connecticut simply had no answer for her. Then, with just 2 minutes remaining in the quarter, White took her out of the game. Clark returned in the second quarter, quickly started finding her rhythm once again, but before halftime she was pulled from the floor another time. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell logged 19 of the first 20 minutes during that opening half. So when White argues that the officiating cost them the game, she's also overlooking the rotation decisions that disrupted their momentum right when they had Connecticut under pressure.
I brought it to the attention of the officials at halftime, yet we still had 11 fouls in the fourth quarter to their 2. They still shot 24 free throws.
You're going to talk about that. The free throws, okay, you gave up nearly 60% shooting on defense. You're supposed to be a defensive coach. You're trying to use Caitlin Clark's situation to cover up for that. You're trying to use Caitlin Clark's situation to cover up for that. You chose to run 5-6 straight plays for Kelsey Mitchell when Caitlin Clark is cooking. You trying to cover up for that. Come on now, come on.
At this point, she's focusing on the free throw disparity and the foul calls. To be fair, she isn't completely wrong about the officiating being inconsistent. That push to Caitlin's throat was clearly excessive, and it should have been reviewed and called accordingly. But the issue with making that the main explanation is impossible to overlook. Indiana allowed the opposition to shoot nearly 60% from the field in that game. Nearly 60%. Stephanie White built her reputation as a defensive-minded coach and was brought back to Indiana specifically to solve those defensive problems. Yet when the biggest moments arrived, her team's defense completely unraveled. The Sun scored almost at will during the fourth quarter and overtime, and that outcome wasn't simply about the officiating. It also came down to coaching decisions and on-court execution during the most critical stretches.
Number one, you gotta call it. It's absolutely egregious and utterly disrespectful.
I agree. Now, what she's about to say about Caitlin Clark, I agree with. I just feel like she's trying to use Caitlin Clark to cover up for her coaching mishaps as well.
And then number two, you're coming in here aware of what happened 2 nights ago? and that shit still happens, absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And the reckless closeout that they actually review, and the foot still comes down on top of the defender's foot that wasn't upgraded, absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. And I just say again.
Next, she describes the situation as egregious and completely disrespectful. She brings up what happened 2 nights earlier, referring to another game where Caitlin absorbed a cheap shot. She also mentions the reckless closeout that was reviewed, but never upgraded before delivering a powerful statement. She says they have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who took 2 cheap shots that went uncalled. Everything in that statement is true. Caitlin Clark has dealt with physical play throughout the season that has frequently crossed the line into dangerous territory. The officiating has also been noticeably inconsistent when it comes to protecting her compared to other stars around the league. But this is where the moment becomes especially frustrating for many people watching. Stephanie White has spent the entire season avoiding saying Caitlin's name whenever she achieves something remarkable. When Clark breaks records, White gives broad team-focused responses. When Clark delivers historic performances, White shifts the credit toward the system instead. Yet the moment she needs to explain a loss, she's suddenly calling Caitlin a generational talent and a WNBA superstar. The timing of that shift feels incredibly convenient.
I mean, we spent all offseason looking at officiating. All offseason. And I still say the one thing that we keep asking for is consistency. She is not called the same way everybody else is called.
How long have we been saying that and you never acknowledged it or said nothing? We've been saying this. We've been saying this. You just now, welcome to the damn party. Finally.
Then comes the statement that grabs everyone's attention. She says Caitlin is not officiated the same way everyone else is, finally acknowledging what so many people watching the league have been saying for months. Caitlin Clark absorbs heavy contact on drives without getting a whistle. She gets held and bumped away from the ball with no call, and she takes hits that would likely send other stars to the free throw line repeatedly while the officials let play continue. White explains that she's been reviewing the officiating throughout the off-season and has been asking for more consistency. That's a fair point, but it also raises an important question. Why did it take a loss before she addressed this publicly? Why didn't she speak up after the first several games when this same pattern was already becoming obvious? Why wasn't the inconsistency called out back in November when it appeared just as clear? The explanation presented is straightforward. Caitlin Clark's treatment by the officials became the narrative used to explain this defeat, making it a particularly convenient storyline. Scoreboard.
We were supposed to use it. Yeah.
Did you attempt to call it and the referees didn't call it, or what was it, miscommunication? What happened?
I think it just didn't get called. It didn't get called. You know, that's something when we get the rebound, we secure the rebound.
I think it just didn't call. No, your ass forgot to call timeout. That is a coaching mishap. This is what I'm saying. She tried to use Caitlin Clark as a cover-up. You ain't never stood up for Caitlin for real, for real. When Caitlin Clark accomplishes things, you don't even want to say her name. You forgot to call timeout on the last play when y'all got the rebound. You forgot. That is a coaching mishap. She's trying to use Caitlin Clark as a cover-up, y'all. I'm not buying it.
Rebound, we call timeout. We got the rebound and we're getting ready to call it.
Now we arrive at the coaching decision that many believe reveals the real focus of this entire press conference. A reporter asks about the final possession of regulation after Indiana secured the rebound with an opportunity to win the game. The Fever still had a reset timeout available, giving them the chance to organize a play, position their best players, and create the highest quality shot possible. Stephanie White explains that she was preparing to call the timeout, but it never happened. Think about that for just a moment. Rather than fully owning it or saying she should have been more assertive in getting the officials' attention, White moves past the topic in only a few seconds before returning to the discussion about the free throw disparity. That's what makes this entire press conference appear so carefully framed. Stephanie White isn't wrong about the officiating. She isn't wrong that Caitlin Clark has often been officiated differently than other stars. She isn't wrong that the throat push should have been called or that the physical play against Clark has frequently crossed the line. Those points can all be true, but the argument presented is that those same truths are being used to shift attention away from the coaching decisions made during this game. Looking back at how the loss unfolded, the opening quarter tells an important story. Caitlin Clark caught fire immediately, scoring 13 points and forcing Connecticut's defense into constant adjustments while the Fever controlled the game. Then, with 2 minutes remaining in the quarter, White took Clark out for a rest, momentum changed. The Sun responded with a run, and Indiana's offense slowed without its primary creator. By the time Clark returned, much of the advantage built during her dominant stretch had disappeared. The second quarter followed a similar pattern. Clark found her rhythm again, created quality opportunities for herself and her teammates. The offense was flowing smoothly, and she was taken out once more before halftime, while Kelsey Mitchell remained on the floor for almost the entire first half. Let's continue breaking down what unfolded. Kelsey Mitchell is unquestionably a good player and an important piece of this roster, but she's not Caitlin Clark. She's not the player opposing defenses build their entire game plan around, and she wasn't the one who exploded for 13 points in the opening quarter. If the objective is simply to maximize the chances of winning, that rotation decision becomes difficult to understand. In the third quarter, Clark returned with an aggressive approach, determined to regain control of the game. After committing a turnover, White immediately sent her to the bench, not for a brief rest, but for an extended stretch. The message that sends appears unmistakable: mistakes won't be tolerated. The challenge with that approach is that elite players need room to play through mistakes. They need confidence that their coach trusts them to recover, adjust, and keep making winning plays. Michael Jordan committed turnovers. LeBron James has endured difficult possessions. Stephen Curry has missed shots. Great coaches allow great players to work through those moments because they understand that the long-term value far outweighs an occasional mistake. Yet the argument here is that White hasn't coached Caitlin with that same level of freedom, instead treating her more like a role player who has to continually earn every minute on the floor. Then came the fourth quarter and overtime, where the defensive breakdown became impossible to ignore. Connecticut shot nearly 60% from the field during the most important moments, reached the basket with little resistance, knocked down open three-pointers, and executed its offense effectively throughout crunch time. It's worth remembering that Stephanie White's reputation has been built on defense, and she returned to Indiana specifically to improve that side of the ball. However, during the most critical defensive possessions of the season to that point, the defensive structure unraveled. Players found themselves out of position, rotations arrived late, and help defense was largely absent. The argument presented is that those issues point toward coaching. Finally, regulation reached its last possession. The Fever secured the rebound, still had a timeout available, and had the ideal opportunity to stop play, design a final possession for their best player, get everyone organized, and create a quality shot to win the game. But the timeout was never called. White later said she was preparing to use it, yet it never happened, and that decision became one of the biggest talking points from the game.